Hello, this is Terry Hunter. I know most of you, if you're watching this video, know who I am, and we have some sort of relationship either through classes or in business somewhere. So welcome to Basic Operational Manager. And what we talk about today is what is a manager's job and how do managers do their job. Okay, that sounds very, very simple. What is a manager's job? Until you really break it down and get into it. A lot of managers really don't understand what their job is. So let's start there. Let's start, anytime I look at my phone, I'm not checking social media while I'm talking to you. I have a timer on here to make sure. I'm going to try to keep these lectures under 15 minutes and condensed into a very usable format on that. So let's talk about what is a manager's job and how do managers do their jobs. Again, most things are really simple. The basic, building blocks and foundation of what we're doing is simple. And so I'm gonna, if I could wave a magic wand, and again, a lot of things I'm famous for saying, I teach you how to do that in 15 minutes, and you spend the rest of your life trying to perfect it. And that's very true here. A lot of things, most things really come down to being very, very simple. What is a manager's job? A manager's job is to protect the assets of the owners. That's a manager's job. That's why you're hired as a manager, is to protect the assets of the owners. Okay. How do managers do their jobs? We always say when you put on the name tag of manager, you give up honest work forever. You no longer make what the business makes or perform the services that the business performs. You help the employees. You help other people do what the organization does. On there, what a manager does is they make decisions all day long, every day, 365 days a year. They make decisions. And on what basis do they make decisions? The job is to protect the assets of the owners, and managers do that by making decisions. Managers make decisions based upon the long-term best interest of the owners. Okay, you might say the long-term best interest of the organization. The organization is the owners. The owners are the organization. They are inseparable as we go through. So you make decisions based upon the long-term best interests of the owners on there. Again, this is pretty simple. Your job is to protect the assets of the owners. You do that by making decisions based upon the long-term best interests of the owners. Again, poof, that's your job on that. Now you could spend the rest of your days trying to get it right. Again, I've been studying this all my life, and I still am trying to get it right. I still work every day trying to do it right. So we look at what are the assets that we have to protect. And here, the assets that we have to protect. We have people. We'll break this down, and we'll break this down in subsequent lectures as well, each one of these, because in 15 minutes we don't have time. We can spend an endless amount of time. We could spend an entire course, probably an entire college degree, on how to manage people on there. But the people is how to protect the people. First, your employees, your customers, and this is very, very important, I try to stress, is how do you protect you, the manager? How do you protect yourself and take care of yourself on there? The second is financial. How do you protect the financial assets of the organization? When we get down to what are the assets, we talk about the people, we talk about financial assets, as we'll go through, and again, we'll break each of these down in subsequent lectures as we go through. Financials, return on investment, yield, input, output, how do we de-risk decisions for the owners, and we'll spend a lot of time on budgeting and cost control as well. Okay, so financial assets. We're going to look at time. I know you can follow the PowerPoint that we're editing in as we go through. How do we protect time? Well, we use time wisely. Okay, we'll talk about continuous improvement. How do we use our time to get better at things as a manager and as an organization as we go through? How do we make improvement incrementally, and we'll look at a big one, which is breakthrough improvement. Continuous improvement is big. And when we're talking about your personal time, about prioritizing your time, because you only have so much time, use it wisely, is don't major in minor things. Right behind my desk in my office here, I have, and again, I've been studying this all my life, is I have a performance importance matrix up there. It's one of the few things I have hanging on the wall that I can look at. It's in my direct line of eyesight, and any decision that I make, I try to run it through there. Is this, how important is this decision, and how well are we doing at that decision? How important is the subject matter? How well are we doing? And I want to spend my time getting better and put my energy into things that are important first. Again, we'll spend an entire lecture on performance important matrix as we go through. In other words, don't major in minor things. Major in major things as we go through. So time. We'll look at energy. Okay, sustainable business practices. Again, we offer, the 4-year degrees, master's degrees, PhDs in sustainability and sustainable business on there. But I'm going to try to cover it in 15 minutes. Then you can spend the rest of your time trying to get it right as we go through. But the basics on protecting the assets and making decisions as we go through. First, to understand what your job is, then we're going to spend the rest of our time learning how to do it right on there. We go through products as assets. Acquiring the right products. The right product for its intended use at the right time and the right price from the right supplier, from the right source as we go through. Okay? We look at buildings and equipment as we go through. We talk about maintenance, deferred maintenance, spending your money wisely as we go through, repair or replace decisions, and again, costs and controls. But these decisions related to building and equipment. Give you an example on that. Is it a better decision to repair or replace a decision? Your job is not to make your life easier and just replace a piece of equipment because it's pain. Your job is to make the decision, is this a good management decision to repair or replace a piece of equipment on that? It's like how much is the new piece of equipment? The new piece of equipment is $10,000. If we replace it, that is the profit in a lot of businesses from $100,000 in sales on that. It's not that, wow, it'll make my life a lot easier if I replace this equipment. Your job, again, is not to make your life easier. Your job is to protect the assets of the owner. This is all a filter we run through. This is a filter we run decisions through continually. And I hate to be hard about this, but it's just something that's got that you've got to understand when you're making decisions on this. Is you filter big decisions and little decisions through the filter of, is this decision based upon the best long-term interests of the owners of the organization as we go through. Okay, information and procedures. We talk about that information and procedures relate to design, implementation, monitoring of information and procedures as we go through, and we get down to the last one on the list on our assets to protect is the brand that we go through, the perception and the brand that we go through. Who are you? Your brand is who are you and how are you perceived? How are you perceived by the stakeholders, including how are you perceived by your owners? That's very, very important on there. How are you perceived by other managers? How is the organization perceived? How is it perceived by the employees? We get back to the people associated with these. How is your organization perceived by the customers? How is your brand? In other words, how do they perceive you on this? And even how are you perceived by your competitors as we go through? It's important to them. How are we perceived by the competitors? And this all folds into what we call the brand on that. And when we look at all of these decisions, we got to look at them honestly on that. So, in summary, what is a manager's job? I know you're probably rolling your eyes by now, and now I think, wow, we're getting somewhere. Now, when you start getting tired of hearing this, is to protect the assets of the owners. We look at what those assets are. How do managers do this job is they make decisions based upon the long-term best interest of the owners. If you can do this, you're better than 99% of the managers in the world out there, and will be worth your weight in gold out there. So spend time thinking about this. And if you get every day, we talk about the improvement, incremental improvement, get good at these things. Okay, I'll see you for the next lecture.